there, my name is Sarah.
This little cutie is my son, Bennett.
As you can see, my son is a white male, so here are some books that I bought to help prevent him from growing up to be awful. Starting out strong, we have C is for Consent. Pretty self-explanatory, but it's a picture book that goes into detail about consent with your body.
Do you believe that Iran is funding Hamas? And if they are, should the sanctions stay in place?
You know, George, Iran is engaged in a number of activities, including funding extremist groups, supporting terrorism more broadly, supporting very dangerous proxies that are taking destabilizing actions throughout the Middle East, proliferating weapons. And Iran, with a nuclear weapon, is going to act with even greater impunity in those areas, which just adds to the urgency of trying to put the nuclear problem back in the box that the nuclear agreement put it in.
Much coverage has attended the efforts in some 40 states to change voting laws.
A huge thank you to the James Baldwin of our time, Ta-Nehisi.
Oh, man. The James Baldwin of our times. That is some high praise. Gotta turn off my divine intervention now. Ta-Nehisi Coates. So, I know nothing about this guy, but I listened to that little rant in favor of Nicole Hannah-Jones to get tenure at a university. And he's an idiot. He's not a smart person. He's a dumb. And it's fine. There's dumbs of, on Republican, Democrat, black, white. Doesn't matter. There's dumb people I've heard. He's really stupid. So I don't know where. Is it because he's got an interesting name? Is it where this came to be that he's a thoughtful voice of whatever? He's got a great grift. Apparently he's making all sorts of simoleons at BU or whatever. So, I mean, he's making money. It's good. Why not? I mean,
right. He wrote the big essay, "The Case for Reparations," that's considered like required reading for. Okay, right.
Yeah, and I was telling you, I was on Channel 2 on a failed show that I didn't help save really, like 5 years ago, and one of the things we talked about was reparations, and all the producers you get like 74 producers per show there. Said, oh yeah, we're gonna be working off Ta-Nehisi's piece. And I was like, what the hell is a Ta-Nehisi? What is? And no, I mean it's fine. I mean it's an easy. Oh, the lights. It's an easy grift to work off of the many imagined or existing tendrils of racism for your personal gain. If it's somebody who's going to try to make hay out of this stuff, because it's very appealing for a lot of people, and it's fine. Whatever. I mean, here's the thing about all of this is that we're being told we need to revisit all of this right now because this is a pivotal moment in race relations right now. And now, especially with the brutal street murder of George Floyd, it cannot be denied anymore. And that the black experience right now, it continues, literally in the streets. The murders continue. Jim Crow continues right now. And the opportunities are not there. And there are the systems of oppression working literally with the racists are duplicating the worst of times right now. And of course, that's all BS. There's nothing to that. This is not true whatsoever. The systems of racism were dismantled by the systems of democracy in the 60s in legislation.
Yeah.
Right.
There isn't Jim Crow anymore. There isn't slavery anymore in the United States. The people who practiced slavery are long since dead in America. Right.
And that said, there is a system that disincentivizes marriage and affects the black community, especially, yes. But that's not the systems that they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're talking about imagined voter suppression and other, now any number of things. The police, of course. The police are, and that's the police, bloodthirsty slave police. Remember, they all come from hunting slaves down. It's all a grift. It's all, and anybody knows this. I don't want to even get into it that much. I can tell you that this guy is a dumbass. He's just a dumb person. That's fine. I have lots of friends, almost all of them white. Okay, so I'm a very good person here now, who are stupid. But this guy's just stupid.
Much coverage has attended the efforts in some 40 states to change voting.
I would immediately, if I were an editor, to say, cut that out right now. Much coverage has attended the effort. What are you doing, dude? Calm down. Write like people, okay? Write like you speak, Ta-Nehisi, which is not very well, by the way.
Laws so as to favor Donald Trump and his supporters. But the assault on democracy goes beyond the ballot box.
Really? Half-assed bromides, generalities, and haggard platitudes? The assault on democracy. That's the best you have? God, that's like a first year at BU student.
Yeah.
The assault on democracy. Get better, dude.
And they're acting like this is new, too. This, like, new discovery that there was slavery and Jim Crow in the United States. Like, they're doing this with the 1619 Project,
We're going to talk about that in a moment.
These places are banning the 1619 Project, and the left in the media is framing it as the right wing wants to ban talking about slavery in school. No, we all learned about slavery in school, just like we all learned about Jim Crow in school. Before there was a 1619 Project, we knew all about it. You can't learn United States history without learning a ton of stuff about slavery and how bad it was.
Right.
We all read Frederick Douglass. We all did all these
Not
things.
just that, Alice, but we had the debates in churches. We had the debates in town squares. We had the debates in the local legislatures. We had the debates in the federal legislature. We had the debates in the executive branch. We had the debates in the judicial branch. And when it became so untenable at one point that we then took the debate to the battlefield.
Yeah.
You know, where in what 400,000 or so troops died. By some estimates, 750,000 Americans died in the Civil War. We had this fight. We had it out. There was nothing unsaid or said better now than was said then. You know, we continued the fight, the remaining Jim Crow acts and Jim Crow laws and the remaining efforts to subjugate blacks in this country was something that was never not debated. It always was.
Right. It was a huge issue at the founding. If you study the founding of the country, it was a huge issue because a lot of the people, even a lot of the people practicing it, knew that it was morally a really big problem that they were doing this. They knew that it was bad. This isn't,
every admission of a new state was a debate about slavery.
Right. I mean, it's the more, and there's always, I'm sure there are going to be some people who push back about this and say the Civil War wasn't entirely about slavery. It was about, industrialization and railroads and trade and all this stuff. And states' rights, of course. But the states' rights to do what? To have slavery. And the more you learn, you can sort of learn a lot about it and get to a point where you say, like, oh, there was more to it than just slavery. And then you keep learning about it and you go, okay, but really, like, the fundamental thing at the root of this whole thing really is slavery. Is slavery okay for us to have in this country or not? And it's been a huge defining issue of our national character, and the ramifications of it have continued to this day. I mean, I think that that's not even debatable, and that's what I learned in school. And Howard Zinn has been around a while, his books have been around a while, and people our curriculum has already been once overed by the left in the last 50 years, and acting like kids aren't taught this stuff in school. Oh, kids don't realize there was slavery. We have to have the 1619 Project. The right is trying to ban talking about slavery. Nobody's trying to ban talking about slavery. They're trying to ban your screwed up, wokeified version of history that is not based in reality with the rest of us and wants to stick racism and slavery and white supremacy in issues where it doesn't go, or to see it through some weird racial lens, everything that happens, even if it doesn't have to do with that. They're really, and you and I just got done saying that, like, slavery has been a fundamental issue in this country with threads that run through everything. And I really think that that's true, but not in the way that they want to make it. Law enforcement doesn't come from slave catchers. This has been debunked and debunked and debunked. It's just silly. And there's so much there to actually talk about. You do everyone a disservice when you try and oversimplify it and turn it into issues that it's not. When you look at it through the lens of today, instead of trying to understand the things that were happening in the way that these things were debated at that time, you can't reframe history to be about Breonna Taylor, because it's not,
Right. But also, everybody who washed up on these shores in the 1600s and the 1700s came from a culture which had slavery.
Of course.
One way or another. Absolutely. So slavery was a common thing. It was a common thing. There were slaves in Africa. Black people had slaves.
There were
Indians
slaves
had slaves
in the Americas, exactly.
Right. White people had slaves.
China didn't even get rid of slavery till like the 20th century, and you could argue they haven't gotten rid of it yet. I mean,
exactly. But to think that this is just a unique to the United States, my goodness. No. What makes the and what's her name? Who wrote it?
Nicole Hannah Jones.
She says that what makes us different than those other cultures is that we're supposed to have ideals above that, and we're, the American ideal is more a more noble ideal than a lot of those other societies and cultures that had slavery. Well, yes, and that's why we've been beating ourselves up about it forever, because we talk about it.
Right.
You can't have this. There's no 1619 Project book written in China by a Chinese person. It's not done. We are a free country. We are free to, audit our history, and we are free to criticize our history, and we have done it forever. Yeah. And we are free, and to boil it down to, well, now though, if you look at the legacies, et cetera, it's about privilege. There wasn't a whole hell of a lot of privilege in the freaking fields of 17-year-old kids, from Vermont, who, had probably no idea what they were fighting for, etc. This is real people paid with real lives during the Civil War for this stuff.
Right.
And so I
think we look at our history in...
Pepper.
She's going to rip out the cables.
Go somewhere down
here.
Pepper,
shoot.
Pepper, come down here.
Or up here.
So, but
we look at our history in a more clear-eyed way than almost any other country on earth, I think. And we're one of the most, self-critical nations about our own history that exists. I mean, today, I think. Terms of the way that we teach kids in school and stuff.
Where we celebrated as a culture. The movies that win the Oscars, the ones talking about how much we sucked. Including the ones written by conservatives. Dances with Wolves. Costner was a conservative. That was about us big white a-holes screwing up the serene, pure Indian culture. It's we talk about this a lot. This is nothing new. And 1619 from the New York Times simply came out and was pressed into gold because it came out in 2019 and it made for good copy.
Right. And, I mean, we're overusing the example of China kind of, but to compare it, I mean, we still can't come out with movies that are critical to China because they're a big part of the global market and Hollywood doesn't want to hurt them. So they avoid topics that upset China in movies literally today. I mean, Disney filmed a bunch of the Mulan movie in the parts of China where they're holding Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps and committing genocide as we speak.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Alice, because I'm gonna get to this, and we'll revisit China too. But we're making hat-in-hand entreaties to Iran currently, right now, today, saying, please deal with us. We'll bow to your concessions. We'll knock off sanctions. We'll do whatever you want. If you're a woman in Iran and you dance freely in the street for 11 seconds, they will gype you and disappear you.
Yeah.
Iran, this is
they literally throw journalists in prison.
They whack journalists in Iran all over the place. People act like Khashoggi was unique. No, in Iran, that is commonplace. And we're olive branching with these GD dirtbags right now. The regime,
right? Not to mention Putin too.
Right? They've been lobbing missiles into Israel now, with our money, and we're still doing outreach. Iran just said, you know what? You need us, you weaklings. We're gonna shoot some rockets at the Israelis. You're gonna take it. Half of our rockets are gonna fall short and kill Palestinians. We don't care. You're going to take it, and you're going to deal with us the way we want to. And we're saying, okay, yeah, okay, you promise you won't build nukes? And Iranians are saying, oh, yeah, we promise. We've
Not to mention Putin. We're doing the same thing with Putin. They just lifted the sanctions on the people that are involved with building this pipeline that we don't want Putin to build. And what are we doing about it? Well, nothing. Well, it's already mostly built anyway. We're lifting the sanctions. It's not going to do anything anymore. We don't know how. We don't want them to build it, but they're just doing it. We can't stop them.
Right.
Like, please
don't
build the pipeline.
We're lifting sanctions on pipelines by the Russian, authoritarian government.
Yeah.
And killing pipelines here in America that could help us get heat homes for a little bit of time. It's freaking crazy, and we're walking into it knowing, oh yeah, we know. I got audio from Tony Blinken. It was in the open with George Stephanopoulos saying, do you think maybe since Iranians are funding Hamas that maybe we shouldn't be so eager to join them? Well, yeah, they're funding Hamas, and they're responsible for a lot of terror in the world, and they up-arm a lot of dirtbags in the world, and they're really not believable or trustworthy. They're really kind of bad country, leadership-wise, totally. But if we don't do this for them, then they'll do something malicious, as if they don't do something malicious all the time. It's freaking backwards. It's so crazy. So I'm gonna back that Ta-Nehisi Coates and Helen Scott Slater. What is her name?
Nicole Hannah Jones. There's a couple of things about the 1619 Project. This is from Rich Lowry, wrote this a bit ago. Some bullet points that he's got problems with. One, that she leaves out unwelcome facts about slavery. Hannah Jones's account of American slavery is justly excoriating, but is careful to leave out anything that might even slightly complicate her story or might prove discomforting to the left. They were, Hannah Jones writes, of the first slaves brought to colonial America, among the 12.5 million Africans who would be kidnapped from their homes and brought in chains across the Atlantic Ocean. She doesn't say who kidnapped them. She refers later to people stolen from Western and Central Africa. Again, she doesn't say who first stole these people so they could be sent across the Atlantic in chains. Why not? Like it or not, it was Africans who captured other Africans and marched them to the coast to be sold to European slavers. African slavery existed before Europeans showed up, and it persisted after they left. This, of course, doesn't make the Middle Passage so excruciatingly awful it's difficult to even read about any better. But it cuts against the impression that she wants to leave that the slavery was uniquely European, and especially an American phenomenon. Indeed, you might get the idea from reading her essay that colonial Americans were the ones who came up with the idea of racialized slavery. Sadly, it had a long history before Thomas Jefferson showed up in the scene. As far back as the mid-15th century, papal bulls granted Portugal the right to enslave sub-Saharan Africans. Infidels in the West Africa could be reduced to perpetual slavery. Taken together, James Sweets writes in a paper on the topic, these papal bulls signaled to the rest of Christian Europe that the enslavement of sub-Saharan Africans was acceptable and encouraged. Across the Iberian Peninsula, he notes, the word Negro basically came to mean slave, and this term and meaning were picked up by Northern Europeans. Of course, this doesn't make racialized slavery any less heinous, but it does provide a sense of how, when it comes to slavery, colonial America was hardly an island unto itself. Hannah Jones says that at the time of the American Revolution, 1/5 of the population within the 13 colonies struggled under a brutal system of slavery unlike anything that had existed in the world before. Perhaps she means implicitly to include the rest of the Americas in this condemnation, because everywhere else in the Americas, Brazil, Cuba, the West Indies, etc., had a broadly similar system of slavery. Of course, if she wanted to be clear about this, she could have simply said it. Well, yeah, but once you lump in all the South American countries where slavery was arguably worse than it was here, then then you can't have America uniquely bad.
Right.
You have to throw in other countries, especially because you're not saying like England bad, who, had colonized, or Spanish bad, although we are saying that. You're saying America bad. So now we're talking about, like, is Brazil a bad country? Is Mexico a bad country?
Right. So another part, he talks about smearing the revolution. According to Hannah Jones, conveniently left out of our founding mythology is the fact that one of the primary reasons the colonists decided to declare their independence from Britain was because they wanted to protect the institution of slavery. This is preposterous. It isn't left out of our founding mythology because it's inconvenient, but because it's untrue. The reference here presumably is to colonial upset over the 1773 Somerset decision in England. As historian Alan Taylor explains in his recent book American Revolutions, an American slave owner took his slave to England and then tried to send him on to Jamaica. The slave, James Somerset, petitioned for his freedom. A British court ruled that slavery wasn't supported under the natural law and required an enactment of positive law, with no such law existing in Britain. Somerset was a free man. The colonists feared the consequence, but there is nothing in the writings of the revolutionaries to suggest this episode ranked anywhere close in importance to their other discontents. Moreover, the turbulence around the Somerset decision was complicated. The ruling, Taylor writes, coincided with an imperial veto of Virginia's latest attempt to discourage further slave imports. It was the combination of Somerset and this veto that exercised Virginians. The empire seemed implicitly, Taylor continues, to stir up slave discontent while preventing colonies from restricting the threatening growth of their numbers. The point is worth emphasizing, by the way, that it was royal policy at this time to oppose any colonial efforts to crimp the slave trade. King George III urged the royal governor of Virginia, upon pain of the highest displeasure, to assent to no law by which the importation of slaves should be in any respect prohibited or obstructed. Distorting the Constitution. Understandably, Hannah Jones spends a lot of the time on the compromises related to slavery at the Constitutional Convention. The Constitution, she writes, protected the property of those who enslaved black people. This is shamefully dishonest. With the quote marks around property, she effaces, 250 years later, the work of the founders who specifically insisted on excluding that word in any reference to slavery. The Constitution refers to slaves not as property, but as persons held in service, a subtle distinction, although one with profound implications. Anyway, the thing, it's a crappy.
It's bunk. The 1619 Project is a bunch of ahistorical junk. It's somebody looking at history through a lens they want to look at it through without any, contextual reading or understanding of any of it. And the fact that she was even made this special endowed chair at UNC Chapel Hill is insane and ridiculous. And the fact that they didn't give her tenure is supposed to be this big scandal. She has a 5-year contract. Please. I mean, it's ridiculous. And we're being told it's because she's black that she didn't get tenure. So the university's racist. See? Right-wing universities strike again, honey. Those bastions of conservative thought.
That's right. Who said that again? Oh, that was
AKS.
Oh,
Ashish, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, he's a dumb.
Last year, President Trump issued an executive order creating the 1776 Commission, which he offered up as a rebuke to the 1619 Project.
Good. Victor David Hanson is involved. There's at least one black person involved, and I'm all for it.
Helmed by one of the most decorated journalists of her generation, Nicole Hannah Jones, the 1619 Project sought to expose the American experiment's origins in the laboratory of slavery.
Oh, God, shut up. Shut up. If everything you have to go to a metaphor for everything, then maybe there's no real substance.
Trump's rebuke was not a private effort, but one that enjoyed the sponsorship of the state. Perhaps because a certain class of pundits still fails to regard Trump's bluster seriously, the response to this assault on a free press was muted. But the import...
What? Is this assault on a free press? Because he was countering?
Right.
So no executive branch is allowed to have a differing narrative to anybody in media?
No.
Assault on the free. This
was
guy
an
is such a
assault on
hack
the-
and stupid. I'm
and-
sorry about that. I'm sorry your name's interesting, but you're a freaking dullard.
No, an assault on the free press would be if he threw Nicole Hannah-Jones in prison for writing the 1619
Right.
Project. Coming up with an
You know, she was in
alternative...
metaphorical prison, Alice, okay?
Well, and they were already, putting together school programs to teach the 1619 Project in schools when Trump did this. He wasn't countering her, just publishing it in the New York Times. Who cares? Everybody knows they're a bunch of liberal moonbats. But it's when they wanted to bring it into the schools that he then made the 1776 Commission to kind of counter the narrative, to give people an alternative way to look at history. And, I agree with that. We need to be teaching kids positive things about America in the world, because America is the best country in the world, frankly. And I don't know what we're going to do about the schools.
But notice the grift. Hannah Jones and Ta-Nehisi Coates are making a damn good living.
Yeah.
Rewriting the past, rewriting history.
I mean, why not? If you can get the guilty liberals to pay you money to tell them how bad they are, then more power to you.
Yep. So you made the comment about the slavery and human rights in Iran. We know it's a country run by dirtbags, radicals, theocratic thugs. And they've been a sponsor of terrorism now for probably almost 50 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They've been funneling money to Hamas. They work with all sorts of groups. They've been fighting and killing American troops in Iraq for a long time, and they're a dirtbag regime.
Mm-hmm. They
have been efforting a nuclear program for quite a while, and they don't care what anybody says. The last deal that we had, the NGJCAOPOH, whatever it is, did not allow us to have spot checks on inspections on facilities in Iran. It was a total glide path for Iran to actually improve.
Right.
And
it was a deal for them to make nuclear weapons.
Right, exactly. But all the smartest people in the world, Ben Rhodes and those pod save idiots, and half the people who now work with Biden, patted themselves in the back because it was nuanced thinking. This time they'll listen to us, these gangsters who have done nothing but acted like gangsters in the Middle East and around the world now for 40 years. This time they'll listen to us because we have a different, smart approach. We've been, consultants at very high invoicing, institutions in Manhattan. So we know our approach is different. We're the smartest people in the world. The Iranians signed on happily after getting every concession they could out of John Kerry, including getting a pallet full of cash because we owed the money to the Shah of Iran. If that's not pulling one out of the axe, I don't know what is. And for them to say that, and that was secret, that was not published, that story was broken.
Right.
That was secret money funneled to a terrorist-sponsored nation, sponsored nation, which should be freaking huge. You're giving them untraceable money.
Right.
But, that's fine. He was on Obama. There was not one smidge of, whatever. Fine.
Never one scandal.
Yep. So it's fine. Okay. Now, Trump brings us the Abraham Accords, which, among other things, isolates the Palestinians, making that problem no longer a problem with the Arab Gulf states, Gulf oil states, which is excellent, because you don't want an all-in situation whenever it comes to Palestine.
Right.
Trump and the Israelis and these Arab Gulf states, come to these Abraham Accords, and whatever you want to call them, and business, commerce, etc., is improved and enriched amongst these people. One of the reasons was that Iran was threatening the entire region. So, eventually, a lot of these states only had Israel to look to say, all right, do you guys want to help out here? So it's fine. So, and it's great, and there's already been important, almost it's already fostered successful business and trade relationships, and it's been excellent. So that's okay. So if Palestine's feeling left out, every 5 years ago or so, they decided to do this stuff. Hamas in Palestine. Hamas is funded by Iran, is given money by Iran. So Hamas does their thing, funded by Iran, with Iran guidance, money, and and technology, and the rockets go fire into settlements at Israelis who are simply trying to live, and Hamas doesn't. They love all the surplus casualties, because the AP and other organizations will just show the dead kids living in Palestine and the Gaza Strip.
Or AP will complain that Israel hit their offices. They shot up they blew up the AP offices. They're attacking the international journalism.
More moronic lefties, of course, will say, this just shows that the Abraham Accords didn't work. Of course, freaking morons. This proves that they are working, because the war is contained. It's contained in Israel and Palestine. So anyway, so the Iranians are currently using proxies to attack Israel. They're currently using proxies to attack the West. They always are. They have been through the entire Iraq ordeal. They're always up to something. Iran is not a country that is run by anybody with any benevolent notion of anything. These are not fair shake actors.
And yet they're still allowed on Twitter, and Trump isn't too.
These are dirtbags. These are dirtbags.
Yeah.
So maybe we shouldn't deal with them right now. Or if we should, maybe it's not the pressing thing. And they certainly can't be trusted. These are wackos. These are gangsters. You can't trust these people. But so we're going to clear the path for them with another Iran deal, even though they're the worst actor on earth as a country right now. And I want you to listen to this. This is George Stephanopoulos talking to Tony Blinken, right? The Secretary of State.
Yep.
And he's saying, these dudes are bad people. Are we sure we want to deal with these people in good faith?
Your administration is continuing to pursue nuclear negotiations with Iran, but 42 Republican senators have called on the president to end the negotiations, make it clear that sanctions will remain in place because of Iranian funding of Hamas. Do you believe that Iran is funding Hamas? And if they are, should the sanctions stay in place?
Okay, very clear, right? Are they funding Hamas?
And if they are, should there be sanctions?
All right. So Blinken, I expect right now, if we're actually going for this treaty, for him to try to detangle Iran from all this maliciousness that they've been up to.
George, Iran is engaged in a number of activities, including funding extremist groups, supporting terrorism more broadly, supporting very dangerous proxies that are taking destabilizing actions throughout the Middle East, proliferating weapons, and
killing my dog. What the freak else do you need? That's the rap that we know. Blinken, no, that's the case against, by the way.
Yeah, that's the case for sanctions.
Yes, that's the case for not getting in a handshake deal with these dirtbags.
Maybe they were doing like a mock debate before in the administration as they, trained for doing the questions.
Yeah, don't do the devil's advocate part.
He was the devil's advocate side. I don't know.
It's amazing. Okay, well, right there, you've given me 5 reasons to disqualify them. They can't be trusted. They're funding terrorists. They're killing people around the world.
Proliferating weapons.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, then, is there something is there a positive characteristic attribute here at all? Is there anything good? No. Yeah, they're freaking dirtbags. Can't trust them at all. They're the worst. They're killers and thugs. Yep. Well, then that should be it.
You would think so.
That should be over.
2 things on that. One, an Iran with a nuclear weapon or with the capability to build one in very short order is going to act with even greater impunity in those areas, which just...
Okay.
What a double reverse that is. Way to think of something. Yes, you absolutely must cook the Thanksgiving turkey in the microwave. Well, think about it. The chances of a fire from the microwave, versus using gas, etc., is minimal. Also, the bird is contained where it is. Absolutely. I mean, I don't even understand how you would think this way. We have to, because they're such MFs that they're going to nuke us unless we can delay their ability to get them.
Right.
And if they had the nukes now, he's saying, they would probably blow the crap out of everybody in the area.
Mm-hmm.
They're such bad MFs that we must make sure that we can, to the best of our knowledge, on the honor system, delay the production of their nuclear technology.
That's our new foreign policy. They're really bad and mean and scary, so we'll just ask them really nicely not to get any more powerful and get any new weapons with which they can be mean and bad and scary. We'll just say, like, pretty please don't make nukes, because you're very scary to us, and you'll be even scarier if you get nukes. So that would just be really bad. Don't do that, please.
So I made a deal like this one time, Alice, 1991.
Mm-hmm.
In my house. My dad was just building an addition in our house in Winchester.
Okay.
And there was this kid who was kind of a bad, certainly shady.
Mm-hmm.
He'd gone to Winchester High, but probably washed out and went to reform school or jail for whatever. And he was kind of back and kind of not, whatever. And we'll call him Joe.
Okay.
And he was hanging out with kids who were kind of friends of mine, and so they had come over to my house we were hanging out in the addition, which was all studded out, whatever, with stuff. And this kid was kind of a dangerous guy and shady, and I couldn't trust him. And we were smoking weed. So, and he was good for that, I guess. I don't know. But I had to leave the house to go get somebody. To go get somebody or go get something. Hold on.
What's up?
So I had to go, and no, it's fine. My brother just had the chili. I cooked hot chili for my brother, and he likes it, but he doesn't notice a lot of fat. It's neither here nor there. Okay. So anyway, I'm like, I had to go pick somebody up or something like that. I had to leave the house, and I didn't want to kick Joe out.
Right.
He's a dangerous, shady dude, and he's standing there. So, like, I was like, Jesus, what do I do? This dude who's like shady, has been missing from school, is already... He used to speak in, like, weird, encrypted psycho language to me sometimes. Like, I'd be I'd be relieving myself behind a dumpster in some place we'd all drink beers, and he'd be like, I never like to be lied to. It's the most disrespectful thing you can do to another man is lie to him. People lie, get hurt. Maybe people like your friends, like Ned, should know that. I'm like, okay. I'll tell Ned that his life is in danger here in the frigging bowels of the Hell's Kitchen that is Winchester, Massachusetts. Joe, fine. But anyway, he was a volatile guy, so I'm like, what do I do? So what he did is like deputized him. I said, Joe, you're like the toughest, like smartest guy I know. Can you make sure that nobody here steals anything from the house while I'm gone? Because my assumption was that he was just going to go through and steal all my dad's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I put him in charge of security for the house. He's like, yeah, dude, nobody's going to F with anything, dude. I got you. It was the best choice I had. I was outgunned. Joe was tougher, quicker, better, whatever. And I thought that's my only chance. That's what we're doing with the Iranians.
Right.
We know that they're absolute dirtbags.
Mm-hmm.
But we're trying to deal with them in good faith anyway, that hopefully something will catch. Hopefully Joe will know that since I've deputized him, maybe his better angels will influence him to, to be a good security guard for the house instead of the dirtbag that he is. And
there's a reason why setting the fox to watch the hen house is
totally
a phrase, because people think that way, and it's not good.
Right, and that's what we're doing with the Iranians. No, we'll think of a smarter way. We kill them with kindness, as if that is something that works with Shiite radicals.
It adds to the urgency of trying to put the nuclear problem back in the box that the nuclear agreement put it in.
Back in the box. How marketing talk Obama level is that? Mm-hmm. We're going to put it back in the box. Are we going to unpack it? No, we're putting it back in the box. Are we going to table it? No, it's back in the box. Are we going to stick a pin in it? No, it's back in the box. God, these people are disgusting.
They're going to lean in.
Yeah, that's absolutely, they're leaning in. They're leaning in. And you can imagine the Iranians like at the negotiating table in Vienna saying, "Oh my God, these guys are freaking idiots." Yes, we will put it back in box. Yes, you're very good, very astute Americans, morons. Oh my God, we're going to put it back. There was nothing in the box. The Iranians were not complying anyway.
And of course, many of these actions are going forward now, while the and have gone forward over the last few years under the so-called maximum pressure being exerted by the previous administration, and clearly did not get the result that we all seek.
I don't know. There's pretty big volley of missiles going into Israel in the last couple of weeks. I don't remember the last 4 years there being all that much trouble. Maybe Trump had them in the box.
Which is to curb all of these activities. But the first thing that we need to do is put the nuclear problem back in the box. That's why we're committed to trying to see if Iran will come back into compliance with the nuclear agreement, the so-called JCPOA. That's
back into compliance, right? That's what they were doing, complying. If there's anybody who we know who's going to comply,
that's what we're engaged in now. And then use that and as a platform to build on and to try to deal with these other issues.
Can you imagine that? What we're going to do now is, much like we did at the border, which is very successful, is we're going to ratchet back all of the restrictions and anything that was working right now. Mm-hmm. And we're going to start from scratch with the Iranians, and hopefully, after we stop all of the sanctions and give them free reign, then maybe we can get them back in the box as far as nukes go, and then we'll deal with the fact that they're total MFs who can't be trusted, who are out to destroy the world. Then we'll deal with that. I don't know if these guys are serious or if they're in it for the free meals or the travel. I don't know. But he is a moron. And Blinken has shown himself to be profoundly useless.
The Iranians say the decision to lift some of the sanctions has already been made. Is that true?
We've been now.
Yeah. How about your good faith partners in the deals? They're already bragging to people that they're twisting your arms and shaking you down for everything in these rooms in Vienna and pantsing you. They're laughing at you already. George Stephanopoulos knows what's going on in the room because the Iranians are laughing their asses off.
We're about to have our, I think, fifth round of discussions in Vienna with the Iranians. And what these discussions...
He said, the question was, is that true? That you've already agreed to toss out the sanctions?
And talks indirect, as you know, have done is they've clarified what each side needs to do in order to come back into compliance. So we know what sanctions would need to be lifted if they're inconsistent with the nuclear agreement.
So if the answer were no, it's not true that we've done the sanctions, then we would have heard that immediately. A categorical denial. But no. What we've been told is instead that we've taken a Lewinsky approach to the problems, and that is what it is. Yep, absolutely. No, we're servicing them completely. We're filleting the Iranians absolutely completely. Why? Well, because they're the worst actors in the world who are up-arming other state actors, killing Americans, trying to develop nukes, and shooting rockets at Israel. That's why we're doing it. Because imagine they're doing that. Imagine, though, if they had nukes, how bad they could be. So we trust them enough since they've not, kept their word on anything yet. We trust them enough to, whatever, fine, idiot. So that's where we are. But you know what that reminds me of, Alice?
What does that remind you of?
Reminds me of having the knowledge of all this. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of our policy, our green new policy. Even though the partner in the policy to redo our energy infrastructure mm-hmm. would be China, which we can't do as a matter of morality because they have slaves, right?
You have a very enormous challenge, but very important one in front of you. Secretaries Blinken and Pompeo both said that the CCP is committing genocide against the Uyghur Muslim population. Last month, this committee marked up a bill I introduced along with Chairman Meeks condemning this genocide. You recently said that we're quoted saying we have other differences. on human rights, but those should not get in the way of something that is critical as dealing with climate. And I know you can try to compartmentalize it. The problem is it's intertwined, because when you look at the supply chain and you look at China, they dominate the critical mineral supply and solar supply chains, all coming out of the Xinjiang province, which we believe is using slave labor to create these renewable energy sources. So my question to you is, how can you assure us or ensure that this quest that we're on, that slave labor coming out of China, where genocide is taking place as we speak, are never a part of the climate solution in the United States?
You're absolutely correct. Ranking Member McCall, it is a problem. Xinjiang province not only produces some of the solar panels that we believe are being, in some cases, produced in forced labor by Uyghurs, but also there are a significant amount of rare earth mineral that's used in the solar panels themselves. It is my understanding.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, there's absolutely slaves.
Yeah, they're made by slaves, yeah.
They do a really good job.
Sure.
You've seen the panels? Yeah. Sometimes there's, Uyghur, DNA still on them when they get here. We try to Windex that off. But yes, and the rare earth minerals that have to be mined for that. Yeah, no, the Uyghurs are going down and doing that, with their hands. Yeah, that's a problem. Definitely, yeah. Is it slave labor? Yes, absolutely it is. It's slave labor, and the Iranians are arming, terrorists throughout the world and lobbing missiles at Israel. Yeah, so we're absolutely going to work with them. Yeah, so we're going to engage with the Chinese in this. We're absolutely going to do that. Yep. So, okay, that's fine. I guess. I mean, I thought this was like we were talking about. I thought this was a bad year for slaves, slave labor. Can I write a book called an article in the New York Times Magazine called 2021?
The 2021 project?
Yep, about, solar panels.
No,
that's fine.
It's too important.
Enjoy your slave panels, progressives. Goodness. Yeah, I was thinking, Alice, I should have done this in the beginning. Mm-hmm. You know that I have a couple job prospects. Right now, I'm currently unemployed.
Yes.
I had a job at a newspaper, which I no longer have for reasons we can't get into. Mm-hmm. So there's a chance that I could be working at a radio talk station in Hartford, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. A chance.
It's a big station. It is AM. It is 2021. It's, it's getting a little thin over there. We're in the world of talk radio. Fine. There's a chance. So Colleen left Jerry. Mm-hmm. I could probably pitch myself to Jerry. Mm-hmm. To work with Jerry as Jerry's producer, along with doing the burn barrel and all that stuff. I like working with Jerry. He's fun. We're simpatico, really. Or I could not do either of those. Just hopefully between my stimmy and odd little gigs here and there and yours, somehow we hang on. Mm-hmm. What was your feeling? What should I do?
I don't know that any of those job offers are in front of you at this point in time, so it's hard to speculate on the hypotheticals.
Do you think I should have gone for the Minahan job? That's Kirk Minahan podcast to you folks. He's got a very successful podcast too now on Barstool Sports. I have known him for a number of years.
I think it's cool that Colleen's doing that job. I don't know that that's where you want to be exactly.
Yeah, maybe 20 years ago or 10 years ago, maybe that was the thing to do. All right, Alice, we have had a day, by the way, have we not?
Yes.
Alice is quiet today for a couple of reasons. Mm-hmm. One, we partied like it was 1999 last night. Mm-hmm. But actually, no, I'll put that as two. Number one is because we have been working so hard outside.
Yep.
How did you like mowing the lawn? Wait, let me just for the record say that I mowed 90% of the lawn. Yeah. But then
Tom wanted to make sure I know how to mow the lawn in case something happens.
Yeah, when I catch a heart attack, so you know how to do it. How did you like? But I also think it's a you thing because it's, like I said, concentric squares. It's very. their efficiencies at work, etc. To me, it's a joy. A lot of it's a joy because of podcasts I listen to, etc. How do you like it?
It's fine. I don't need it to be on my plate. I just have a lot of things to do. You know?
Okay.
So I'd prefer if you keep that one.
All right. I'll keep that one. Okay. Let us see. All right. So we've got a couple of TikTokers I want to get to as well. One is a woman named... Oh, no. Let's get to Prince Harry first.
Okay.
This guy, man, you think that Ta-Nehisi Coates, the James Baldwin of our time, and
Nicole Hannah
Jones. Just have two names, okay? Just have two, okay? Are good at the grift. Prince Harry, man, and the audio isn't great here. Prince Harry is beautiful, but he is cashing in all the chips now. He has really Kardashianated the royal family.
My mother was chased to her death while she was in a relationship with someone that wasn't white. And now look what's happened. You want to talk about history repeating itself?
Oh, dude. That is frigging disgusting, but keep going.
Not going to stop until she dies.
You're chasing the press, Harry. They're not chasing you.
Yeah, nobody is.
You're the one on the motorcycles, you and Meghan, as they're trying to just speed away and be left alone.
It's incredibly triggering.
Finds the right buzzwords too. It's incredibly triggering. And of course the knockout punchline, which it must have been, I assume, cost him about $800,000 from marketing consulting firms right now to come up with this.
Potentially lose another woman in my life.
There you go. He's going to lose another woman in his life. Mm-hmm. Absolutely cashing
from racism.
Cashing in yet on in the Princess
just like
Di
Diana
thing.
Died of racism.
Like the list is growing. And it all comes back to the same people, the same business model, the same industry.
Oh, man. What flim-flammery. All right, Harry. Why not? If everything's a grift, Ta-Nehisi's in the grift, Nicole Hannah Jones is on the grift, Ibram X. Kendi's on the grift, and Harry's on the grift. They're all using racism. He's a pretty white dude, I found, to be using white racism, but you know what?
The British royal family is like, you would think would be the quintessence of quote-unquote whiteness. Isn't that like as white as you can possibly be?
Yeah,
as
Germans.
As white privileged as humanly possible is the British royal family. I'm pretty sure that's like the most white privilege anybody on earth can have. Is it not? It's to be a member of the British royal family?
Yes. Yeah, although he was, we've all had friends who have gotten into bad relationships and bad marriages, and who are just have become completely unrelatable. And you're like, man, she just kidnapped your soul. He made a decision to be all in, and there you go.
Also, the tabloids were also reporting, I guess in this same interview or wherever, they were also saying that Meghan, when she was pregnant with Archie, was suicidal and told him that the only thing that kept her from killing herself was that it would destroy him to lose another woman in his life. So how creepy and manipulative is that?
Jesus.
I would kill myself and our child, only I know it would hurt you a lot. That's the only thing that keeps me alive.
On the Sunday shows and Meet the Press today was all about all completely dedicated to white supremacy and white supremacists, how they're radical white supremacy and white supremacy, terrorism and violence is a huge thing in the country, etc. And they said during this report, done by 6 different reporters, and also we discussed some. All the white supremacists, of course, are kind of Trumpy. Who they basically the whole thing was dedicated to telling you that Trump's fans are white supremacists. That's it. And they did back around ways, like former Klan member Jed whatever claims that he's no longer racist, etc. And he's like, no, I'm no longer racist. And then they're like, he now, but he misses Donald Trump. Yeah, I'm sure I miss him. And like that's their way of subtly saying he's still Trump. And they said, but there's also radical leftists, terrorists domestically. And for that, they had this group of black people who were going around demonstrating against police violence, not hurting anybody, and not destroying property, etc. That's as far as extreme as that gets. So this brainwashing is continuing in all quarters today. This will be everywhere tomorrow.
Well, it's interesting you raise that too, because it was New York Times had a piece. Was this today? Maybe this was like Saturday. They looked into how much support there was for Black Lives Matter over time, like whether people say they approve or disapprove of Black Lives Matter, because there's like all this we had the racial reckoning last year, and so like what was the impact? Well, as it turns out, the support for Black Lives Matter did shoot up last year, peaked around early June, and then dropped dramatically back to its 2019 levels. So, I think other people noticed that there may have been a little more going on at some of those protests than just, marching with...
What's spineless people, though? Those are the masked people. All right, Alice, a couple TikTokers I want to talk about. First is this TikToker, I don't know her name, but she talks about a mommy kink. And now we should actually... Did you tweet this from... Do you mind tweeting from Burn Barrel so people can see who she is? So she's on about mommy kink. She does have the rainbow flag somewhere in her avatar, I think, but maybe she's not gay. Maybe she's, I don't know. But here we go.
Ladies, if your boyfriend has a mommy kink, you need to try this. Don't you ever swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother! You understand? All I do is worry and...
What happened? Did I go away? Hold on.
Ladies, if your boyfriend has a mommy kink, you need to try this. Don't you ever swear at me, you little shit! You ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother! You understand? All I do is worry and...
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
So, Alice, I gotta tell you.
You like her?
I do. I like it. I like her yelling at me. In the video, she is... How would you say... What would you say is
me?
I would say most guys are noticing, not me, because I'm happily married, and I don't notice other things, but most guys probably are noticing the buxom meanness and the fact that lesser men would probably say that there's an abundance of cleavage there.
Yes.
So most guys, you care. She could be, threatening to exhume my dead parents or reading Mein Kampf.
So do you have a mommy kink? First of all, I think saying the word kink is stupid and nobody should have a kink.
A mommy kink? I don't think so. No. But if you have a beautiful woman yelling at you, it's like you're really focused on the yell. I like
like women yelling at you.
I have a yelling kink. All right, so let's get to our next one. This is Sarah Hines, and she is teaching her boy, to read the...
Well, she thinks he's a boy.
Well, right. Anything could happen.
Hi there. My name is Sarah.
This little cutie is my son, Bennett.
As you can see, my son is a white male, so here are some books that I bought to help prevent him from growing up to be awful. Starting out strong, we have C is for Consent. Pretty self-explanatory, but it's a picture book that goes into detail about consent with your...
C is for Crazy.
your body with family. Along that same note, we have Will Ladybug Hug. Teaches the same kind of concept in a more childish way about a ladybug who is hugging his friends, even has one friend who doesn't like hugging. So, this one is called Only for Me. Also, same concept, teaching kids about consent and things that feel comfortable with their body. Because I'm raising a feminist, we've got A is for Awesome, 23 inspirational women.
Yeah. This next one is called Bennett, Your Mommy's a Psycho. He'll need this to explain away some of the irrational behavior his mommy displayed during his upbringing.
Next we have I Clean Like Daddy. There's even a page in the end where the whole family is cleaning together to show that it's not just mom and sister's job. Finally, we have
I clean like daddy. Oh, God. Just get a shrink. Get all this baggage. Like, okay, so let's say I'm having a kid.
It sounds
He's a
really
little kid.
These sound like really compelling books for a little kid and really enjoyable.
Yeah.
When they don't, a book about boys and girls liking whatever they want, regardless of their gender.
Okay, Psycho. That's great. Yeah, make a weird body and soul, super progressive experiment out of your kid whenever you possibly can. Good luck with that. All right, Alice, I know you are cooked, doggy, so you got anything?
Well, there is big news out of China, speaking of China and other countries that we're not going to hold accountable for anything that they ever do. But apparently now the Wall Street Journal is reporting that 3 researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, this is this lab in Wuhan, went to the hospital in November of last year with COVID, with severe enough COVID that they went to the hospital for it. So the fact that...
Of last year or 2019?
Of 2019. It seems like this has all been one long, continuous 2020.
So this is the place that's not pangolins.
Right. So this is the lab.
Right.
So, and Fauci today, or one of these days recently, they're reporting that Fauci said that he's not convinced that it didn't come from the lab.
That's not true. Dr. Fauci, this is last year, April 18th, 2020. Dr. Fauci throws cold water on conspiracy theory that coronavirus was created in the Chinese lab. Anthony Fauci at the White House on Friday rejected a conspiracy theory that the novel virus was created in the lab. Fauci, the nation's top expert in the infectious disease, said the available evidence on the origins of the virus is totally, quote, totally consistent with a jump of a species from animal to human. Let's see. And yes, I'm reading this report that where Trump had answered the question saying it could be a man-made thing, and Fauci jumped in the Fauci jumped on the up and said, "We do not believe that any type of laboratory-based scenario is possible." So anyway, but then today, Fauci said this.
So I guess he said it earlier.
But no, I'm not convinced about that. I think that we should continue to investigate what went on in China until we find out, to the best of our ability, exactly what happened. Certainly, the people who've investigated say it likely was the emergence from an animal reservoir that then infected individuals, but it could have been something else, and we need to find that out. So, that's the reason why I said I'm perfectly in favor of any investigation that looks into the origin of the virus.
He is absolutely, whatever answer you want from him, he will give you.
Yeah, and so I guess this was earlier this month, but it was during some event that didn't really surface and hit the mainstream until now, and now people are reporting on it. But yeah, he's now not convinced that it didn't come from the lab. So there you go. Fauci, meet Fauci. Just like with masks, just like with, every other thing that, we're the teachers need to be vaccinated to go back to school. They don't need to be vaccinated to go back to school. You need to wear a mask. You don't need to wear a mask. We need 70% for herd immunity. We need 90% for your herd immunity. He can say whatever he wants. Doesn't matter. So there we go.
Oh my goodness. Alice, we can get through this.
It's been great. You can find us on Twitter. Tom is going to tweet that picture of the girl with the cleavage, I guess.
No, that's a Burn Barrel tweet. I can't do that. I've got a reputation.
You can tweet it from the Burn Barrel account.
Okay.
And that is at Burn Barrel Pod, by the way, if you're going to be looking for that. We're also at facebook.com/burnbarrelpodcast and at burnbarrelpodcast.com. You can send us an email, burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com, or check out our YouTube channel as well.